You know, there was never quite a set of cards like the Shining cards from Neo Revelation and Neo Destiny. Let's talk about that. Hey guys, I'm Pokemon Classics reminding you that the classics never go out of style. Today we're going to talk about and showcase some of my favorite cards in any of the Wizards of the Coast sets. And those were the Shining cards released with Neo Revelation and Neo Destiny in approximately 2002. Let's take a look at the first card. We're going to kick things off with Neo Destiny and then work our way backwards, starting with Celebi. Shining Celebi First Edition PSA10, and I've actually been working on this master set of Neo Shining cards for quite a while, and there's only a couple that I'm missing. One of the things that's really cool about the Neo Destiny versions, though, is that they have this embossed holographic pattern that was unlike anything before, or really since, at least until the more recent Shining cards in modern product. Shining Celebi with a population of 135, and it's a pretty amazing card, very difficult to find, and that's true of all these cards due to the scarcity, due to the high demand for the Shining cards. They're going to command a pretty high price. Now there has been a correction on a number of these, so we'll see what those data points do for some of them, but still not uncommon to see these be in the upper echelon of Pokemon collecting. In addition to the Shining Celebi First Edition, we also have the PSA10 of Shining Celebi in Unlimited. Now it's my understanding that Shining cards typically came 2 to 3 to a box of Neo Destiny, and Neo Destiny was one of the lowest print runs of any Wizards of the Coast set, making the cards very difficult to find nowadays. In fact, those boxes go for a massive premium due to how scarce they are. Beautiful card. Really clean backs on these. A lot of these have the old PSA labels because I graded these a long time ago when I set these out. The Unlimited one has a population slightly higher at 168. Again, we see those prices gradually increasing both for the PSA9s and the PSA10s. Looks like the recent ones have settled somewhere around $1,400 in Unlimited. Now everybody's favorite has to be the Charizard, and Charizard in this set, super iconic. It's one of my favorites as well. So here it is, the first edition PSA10 Shining Charizard. This is a really heavy hitter card. Now personally, I think the artwork could have been stronger on this one. We get sort of a butt shot of Charizard here, but he's still flying through the canyon, and in that way it's pretty cool. Shining Charizard coming in just over 200 in the population report. I'm not sure how accurate this data is. I think I've seen some go for roughly $15,000, but there have been some sales as high as $25,000 in the last couple months. So again, we are seeing a little bit of a correction there, a retrace on prices. But even if we just go back to November 26th, that's where we're topping out at PWCC auction for $25,100. It's a tough card, and it's definitely one of the high points, one of the crown jewels of Pokemon collecting. You'll also notice with a lot of these Shining cards that the energy cost to attack is pretty ridiculous. It requires a combination of different types of energies, and in that way it's maybe not as playable as it could have been otherwise. You're also only allowed one of these in a deck. You can't have the standard 4 like you could with other types of cards. Having said that, I'm not sure why anybody would want 4 of these, although it does count as a basic Pokemon, so you don't have to go through the evolution stages. But still, 5 energies, 3 fire, 2 electric. Not the most practical card. On the other hand, the Unlimited version has a population of about 270, which is markedly higher than the first edition version. Prices seems to be stabilizing for the PSA10 and roughly $7,000, give or take a little bit. And even that's pretty high demand for an Unlimited card. Now, one that's underappreciated to some degree, Kabutops. I've always loved Kabutops. Kabutops has those scythes for arms and pretty intimidating Pokemon if we're being honest. It can just slice into you. Up here he's standing on a rock looking out majestic. There's a sunset in the background. I love this artwork. This is one of my favorites. The pop report on the first edition Kabutops, 147. And interestingly, that population's actually higher than the PSA9 version. And of course, we can double up with that one with the Unlimited variation, which is also in a PSA10. Again, those weird energy costs, definitely one of the inhibiting factors, and maybe one of the reasons why many of these cards are easier to grade. I should make that note, a lot of these cards are easier to grade in the Shinings because they don't have that holographic surface across the entirety of the card. It's just on the Pokemon itself. Also, I think less people played them because they knew of the inherent value. If you look at the card again, way at the bottom, and you probably can't tell from this camera angle unless I zoomed in, but it has a 3-star rarity. And so I think people understood that these cards were, more of a collector's item rather than a playable card. The Unlimited Kabutops has 197 in PSA10 with a significantly higher PSA9 population. Still, these ones are also climbing in price and stabilizing out somewhere around $1,000, $900. This one is one that I know a lot of people love, and that's Shining Mewtwo. And he's got this really dramatic pose here, which is really what we would expect from Mewtwo. He's glowing. It's reminiscent of the games, reminiscent of Pokemon the first movie, where Mewtwo is this all-powerful Pokemon that really couldn't be stopped. Got the first edition version in PSA10. The first edition Mewtwo with a PSA10 population of 159 is a much more sought-after card, and this one commands more of a premium. We see prices roughly at $5,000 to $6,000, and that has dropped a little bit from its all-time highs, but still a pretty significant chunk of change for that card. And as time goes on, these are actually getting more and more difficult to find in mint condition. The printing rate just wasn't there. These cards are legitimately rare as cards, but they're also scarce, and so those two combinations are pretty powerful when it comes to collecting. On the unlimited side of things, population of 188 in PSA10, 287 in PSA9, and these still command a pretty hefty premium as well. You can see the 9s coming in around $1,000, and the 10s weighing in between $2,500 and $3,500. Again, there's going to be some fluctuation as prices adjust and the markets change. Next we get Shining Noctowl, and this was always one that I thought was a weird inclusion as a Shining card. I get it though, like Noctowl was one of Ash's Pokemon, it was one of the new Neo series Pokemon, and it's good to have a colorless one. You'll notice that there's a pretty good mix of different energy types from the Pokemon that are included. So here's our first edition PSA10. This one may be a bit surprising to some, but Noctowl actually has one of the lower populations of the Shining cards, and in first edition it's only 123, but yet this card commands probably the lowest premium out of all of the Shining cards as well. If we go down and take a look at the prices, PSA 9s are below $1,000 in first edition, settling somewhere around $700, while the 10s are in that $2,500 range, and they don't come up super often either, so it's hard to get an accurate value. But that is an interesting thing to note, is the scarcity and the price points are out of fluctuation with one another here. And next we'll get to our unlimited PSA10. That's psychic energy, electric energy, and a colorless energy. It's quite a lot of energies for a colorless Pokemon. And then there was Raichu. Raichu is one of those Pokemon that's featured pretty heavily by Wizards of the Coast, represented in a number of different sets. And Shining Raichu is no different, combining electric and water, which is a really interesting decision. We even get sort of that sense of the water in the background with the contrast of the yellow and the blue together. In general, Raichu is a more popular Pokemon, and the first edition version has a population of 152, which is pretty low. It's actually higher than the PSA 9 amount though. And so this one has a bit more of a premium for it compared to others. We got our last couple sales, PWCC at $4,000, one before that breaking $5,000. Value's probably in the $4,000 range at this point since prices have dropped a bit. But Raichu, very popular Pokemon, high demand on that one. Here's the PSA 10 first edition version. And actually, this is one of the only cards that I'm missing from this master set in PSA 10. Is the unlimited version. I have only been able to get this in a PSA 9, so this is one that at some point I'm gonna have to upgrade. Significantly more here in PSA 9, and that's the same problem that I have, is I need the 10 version. Nevertheless, still a gorgeous card. There is a little bit of off-centering on this particular one, which is likely one of the reasons that knocked it down to a PSA 9, because the back is also pretty clean. But yeah, centering is one of those things you really can't help, but you know what? That's what the chase is for, and that's what makes this hobby interesting, is that there's always something to upgrade, always something new to find and add to the collection. Then we have Shining Steelix. Now, Steelix was a Pokemon that I really liked. I think Steelix is really cool. And this card with like these energy waves coming off the rocks. Actually, now that I think of it, that just might be this like sunlight glancing off the rocks in the background. I'm not really sure. It's really cool though. I like the way this card pops off the background. It almost has like a 3D effect to it, much like we would see in some of the later Pokemon sets. Steelix also has a surprisingly low population in PSA10. It is higher than the PSA9, but even at 132, that's not a whole lot. These cards are between 1,500 and 1,800 in PSA10, and that seems about right to me. It's not as popular as some of the other cards, but yet it does have a low population. And next we'll get the Unlimited version in PSA10. And Steelix really has this menacing look to his face. Like if you have a giant steel rock snake coming straight for you like that with a smile on its face, probably means you're going to be lunch, or something bad's going to happen anyway. As is the trend, the numbers are a bit higher when it comes to Unlimited for population, with 192 in PSA10, and those prices are relatively stable. The 10s are going for approximately $800, $850, somewhere in there, with 9s surprisingly high comparatively to the 10s at $500 to $600. This next one is morphed into something of a meme, but we have Shining Tyranitar, and Shining Tyranitar is amazing. Just kind of like basking his body in the sunlight, like he's out for a suntan, just encouraging the world to look at his greatness. First edition stamp gets washed out a little bit with the black background. One of the other things that's notable about this card is every single one came with a misprint on it. It's not any more rare or valuable, but there's a typo. Instead of saying just, it says hust. Backside looking really clean on that one as well. And with a PSA10 population of 126, this is one of the lowest population cards for the entire Shining set. Now, I'd take this one data point as an outlier. I don't think $12,000 is sustainable or realistic. Maybe it wasn't even paid for, I don't know. But as far as some of the earlier sales, we're looking in that $3,000 to $4,000 range. And even 9s have been known to go for over $1,500. We see some of those sales here. So I know other people are with me on that one. That Tyranitar, very popular Pokemon, high demand. It's a good combination. And this one took me a while to acquire, but finding the Unlimited in PSA10 was difficult for me. I was able to track one down a few years ago to add to the set, so really it's just that Raichu Unlimited that I'm missing from Neo Destiny. There's our back. Now for the Master Set to be complete, it's not just about Neo Destiny, you also have to go back to Neo Revelation, which introduced two different Shining Pokemon, Shining Gyarados and Shining Magikarp, and those ones are actually a lot more difficult to grade, because rather than having the embossed holographic pattern, they actually had the original holo type that takes up much more of the card, making it a lot more difficult to grade. Here's the Shining Magikarp in first edition, PSA10. Again, you can see the standard holofoil background on these ones, and that's really what separates it from the later set that was released with Neo Destiny. As far as rarity, these also had the more difficult pull rate, generally coming maybe 2 to a box, sometimes 1 to a box. I don't think there's a definitive answer to how often they were included. Shining Magikarp with a population of 109 in PSA10. We're seeing that huge difference going down to PSA9, with 366 copies available in that grade. These prices have also been climbing, especially over the last year. I know that's true of pretty much every card, but we've got some 9s that are regularly selling for over $1,200, and even 10s going in first edition going for $4,000, $5,000. I actually don't have any version of that card in Unlimited, and so that's one that I'm still after, is the Magikarp. I think I heard that TCA Gaming, I watched one of his videos and he recently picked one up and it was the last one that he needed. So congrats to you, Rusty. It's a really cool pickup. I'm in the market for one of those myself. Then we get the Shining Gyarados first edition in PSA10. And this is the artwork that I know a lot of people love. Not only is it Gyarados, which is often people's favorite Pokemon, but you have the little guy on the boat just cowering under the wrath of Gyarados. There's almost like this tempest storm brewing up at the top. And super iconic artwork on this one. This one's amazing. Had to grade multiple different Shining Gyarados before I acquired this one in a PSA10. So that one probably won't be leaving my collection anytime soon. The Shining Gyarados population just a hair under 100 at 99, still in the double digits. And this card is very difficult to find, but one that I think a lot of people love and are actively seeking. Looking at prices, we do see a bit of an upward trajectory with the PSA10s, and the 9s have been relatively climbing as well, with 9s going for between $1,500, $2,000 recently. The 10s, we have to go back a ways to find the 10s, but we could probably place it pretty safely in the $4,000, $5,000 range, somewhere in there. On the other hand, I am still looking for the PSA10 Unlimited version. And I did send in recently this PSA9 version, and I knew this one wasn't going to get a 10. There's a little bit of edge wear, a couple of dots on the back. Nevertheless, it was a really clean, really nice card, so of course I was going to get it graded. But I'm still on the lookout for that one in the collection. So you can see that little white dot right in the top right corner. There's one maybe down in the bottom corner as well. And it's those little details, those tiny, minuscule flaws that make the difference between a PSA9 and a PSA10. Nevertheless, it's a really cool card. The Unlimited version is actually more scarce in this situation with only 90 in PSA10. And you can definitely see where the difference is here between the Neo Revelation populations versus the Neo Destiny ones, is that these are much more difficult to grade because of how the holographic pattern is set. And with 417 PSA9s, including mine that I need to upgrade into a 10, that's where we get some of that difference. Anyway, guys, that's the master set of Neo Shining cards, and I'm getting pretty close. I'm only 3 cards away from perfection there. It's been an ongoing effort, years in the making, and I'm excited to see what progress I can make on this one in the future. Let me know down in the comments which of the Shining cards is your favorite, and let me know what cards you want to see next. I really enjoy making these videos, and I hope you guys enjoy watching them. Again, I'm Pokemon Classics, reminding you that the classics never go out of style. We'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.